Last week, I did a video entitled Not in My Name, and it was all about voting intention. What would you do? Is it best to go and vote for somebody, stick with the norm, spoil your paper? Well, I told you what I think, and in return, you told me what you thought. There were some very interesting points of view. Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well. Thank you for joining me again. Really good to see you. And as always, I appreciate your support. We're well over 53,000 subscribers now. Keep it coming. Make sure you hit the button if you haven't. Make sure it's still hit if you are. Hit the like button and everything else. This is one of these comment read back videos, just to give you a little bit of time and put some of your own thoughts and opinions out there. Now, I did a video last week about, you know, what is the best thing to do in the voting booth? Do you spoil your paper? Do you not bother turning up? Do you vote reform? Or do you just stick with the norm, thinking, oh, sod it, they're going to get in anyway? Well, let's see what some of you had to say. Right, Anthony, first comment. Think you've answered your own question. Your ballot paper will be classed as rejected and a hung parliament declared if it's anything like 2010. I think this general election, a lot of tactical voting reform party could be a key player who decides where we tread. My view, if you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain about the new government. I've been told that so many times. For those who are voting, don't leave it till the end of the day. Get in early. Yes, I see what you mean about a hung parliament, and to an extent you're right, and that gives them licence to do what the hell they like. But what if everyone in the country did it in a certain way? But that would have to happen, wouldn't it? Not just isolated pockets here, there and everywhere. Fuss149 Hammer says, does anyone believe that Cameron would have considered giving us a referendum on Europe if he thought there was even 1,000,000 to 1 chance we'd vote in favour of leaving? He took a chance on giving the jocks their own vote and it went his way, so he pushed his luck. No, I don't think he would have given us the opportunity there because he was cocksure. And you look at the advertising and everything else that was thrown at it, trying to convince us. And I've long been of the belief that if somebody tries to convince you hard enough that something is true, rings alarm bells and you go looking the other way. I think that backfired spectacularly. John Walker, it wouldn't make a difference. They'll simply record it as a spoiled ballot paper. Again, I'm forced to agree with you. Dean Martin, it's always the same, Andy. They promise everything and deliver nothing. That is why, you know, there's got to be a hunger for some kind of change here. It's gone on long enough. And it's not just this country, is it? It's other countries. Colt Dean, not in my name. They would ignore you, mate. They'd ignore just me, but millions? Paul, I honestly think the majority of the UK adult population has had enough of the Tories' Labour swing that's happened ever since I can remember, and I'm 65 years old. Between them, they've ruined this, what used to be a great country, to nothing more than a charity to feed the world's wolves, strays and undesirables. My vote will go for reform, even if it's a wasted vote. Well, you got 20 years on me, and, you know, I feel the same about that constant swing. Here's another one. Jason, vote reform. Peter Bond, not voting is a cop-out. It just lets the most ardent supporters win. You are right. Red or blue are just the same. The only choice is reform, with Richard Tice. Colin Gott, best thing is draw a box at the bottom of the ballot paper and say none of the above and put a cross there. I'm told that there's a couple of other countries out there which actually have that facility, and I wonder if everybody says none of the above, what would happen? Kevin Lampen, I hold conservative values, however the Conservative Party don't. They are Tories who are paid by lobby groups and organisations that go against my true conservative values, i.e. I see family, God and country as my main roots. Government, I do not. This is the thing. You know, I was brought up in a conservative family, and through life experience, I feel, differently about certain issues. And you look at the Conservative Party and they don't speak for me, and probably not for a lot of other people. Eleanor Peterson is the next one. Poor old lady democracy, oh, this is a bit of a read, has taken a bit of a kicking since the ancient Greeks got things started, hasn't she? But being forced to vote for something that an unelected minority has decided, is not democratic. As an example, please indicate with a cross which are the following candidates you wish to be the next Mayor of London, candidate A, B or C. In a true democracy, the ballot would include the option I do not want there to be a mayor. Please find another administrative solution. But this would give too much power to the people. You're spot on. If your vote made a difference, they wouldn't let you vote. Why else are politicians so scared of the word referendum? All sorts of unwanted, unneeded, well-paid snouts in the trough positions are created and filled this way. I didn't ask for a West Yorkshire Police and Crime Commissioner. I didn't ask for a Community Diversity and Inclusivity Coordinator or even a Regional Gender Acceptance Management Officer. But some unelected panel of goons has decided that that's what's needed, and more importantly, that's what I want, and has graciously given me the chance to vote democratically for my preferred option, albeit not directly. What? Oh well, you see, I have to vote for a councillor who will allegedly do my bidding, but whose thoughts on the need for those new jobs and roles are deemed to be an entirely private matter. So my vote is futile. I don't really even know what I'm being allowed to vote for, but that's modern democracy. The word is sprinkled like magic fairy dust on all things political, as though it gives special status to everything it touches. In some countries you're condemned as a heretic or a commie if you dare to question the sanctity of the supposedly hallowed process. Well, bollocks to that. The will of the people includes the duty to question everything placed before it. Sadly, writing not in my name would be classed as a simple sport ballot and dismissed as such. Putting down anything beside a cross doesn't achieve anything useful unless 100% of the ballots are spoiled, and that'll never happen. Yeah, I tend to agree. So the small ballots are counted, put aside, and the other votes will be counted as usual, and another unwanted candidate will have been elected democratically by the tiny minority of nutters and bigots who still think the process is too precious to change. Sigh. Thank you very much. I can't argue, really, with a lot of what you've just said there. Somebody said, I think none of the above would be a better phrase to use. Chris Bennett, there needs to be a box, none of the above. Ray Sargent, they know why people are not voting, Gabby. They just don't care. As long as they carry on getting in, the only thing we used to be able to do was to punish them by putting the other useless parties in. There is a possibility of punishing both of the useless parties. If all of the non-voters voted for reform, it would smack them both in the gob at the same time. I get it. There's a lot of support for reform there, but with the current voting system we have in this country, what chance have they got? There's another one, Susan, vote reform. Be interesting to see what happens in the mayoral elections with Howard Cox. Definitely, that'd be an acid test to see what happens. I agree with Fotiisha below. Your vote would be considered spoiled and discarded. It's not a good idea, Andy, and I don't think you should push it. Tactical voting is needed. Reform is a good option because it has the potential to gain seats and break the monopoly. At least it would bring some new ideas into a rotting parliament. Oh, I'm not trying to push anything. What I'm trying to do is put an idea out there and encourage discussion on that idea. And judging by these comments, there's an awful lot of opinion and an awful lot to be said. Nobody cares if you don't vote. This is Baldy Man. Spoil your ballot, vote MRLP, or turn up at the polling station with a silly slogan if you want to make a point. Just vote for the most extreme person on the ballot, left or right, doesn't matter. Because nothing puts the willies up the establishment more than people voting for extremists. That's true. Joe Pecorticas, I think I got that right. Sorry if I didn't. A gentleman and they. How about he? The use of correct English seems to disappear. Terribly sorry. Philip Lunn, should be none of the above. There's a lot of that. And as I said, somebody told me that is actually an option in a country or two. Not in my name is exactly how I feel, but sadly it would be a vote wasted. And why would it make them listen? They never do. Much better that everyone votes for a party that can bring back true democracy and real change. Reform UK has my vote. That's Dave Young, and that's the comment we will finish with. There's an awful lot of none of the above and even more reform. So, you know, you get a measure of what people are feeling out there. That's very interesting to me. Anyway, thank you very much. As I said at the beginning, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that bell's hit as well so you keep notified every time we do something. And I'll be along shortly with one more. Toodaloo.